The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. This is very important. Keep this in mind always throughout all discussions in the course and in your life. If any law passed by any part of government in America goes against the Constitution, then that law can be gotten rid of by our Supreme Court. The Constitution has a preamble, and then articles, and then amendments. The preamble has our 6 fundamental goals for government, which are listed there for you. These are why America exists. So if you ever wonder to yourself, why is America this way? Look at the preamble. That will give you guidance as to what our founding fathers intended us to be. Any constitution is just a plan for government. We will sometimes use the term constitution to describe other countries' forms of government, plans of government. But when we talk about the Constitution, in this course, we will be referring to the American Constitution. Constitutions exist to set the ideals for a country, establish the structure of government, and provide the supreme law of the land. Our Constitution is based on something known as popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty is the cornerstone of democracy. It means literally rule by the people. In the American government, authority for the government flows upwards from the people. If the people do not like what their government has done, the people are entitled to get rid of that government. We are a revolutionary country. We are founded on revolution and dissent. As we dissent from what other people believe in, we are free to change our government to reflect our own likes and dislikes as a nation. Popular sovereignty is just exceedingly important to understand. The people rule. The Constitution begins with the lines, "We the people." That means us. If we, as the people of America, do not like what our government is doing, it is our duty, it is our responsibility to communicate with the government, and if the government is not receptive to our communication, then to ramp up our activism until we see the change in the country that we wish to see. If Americans all just sit around letting the country fall apart and letting the government do whatever it wants, then we will lose the nation. We will lose our place in history, and we will forget the founding ideals that really set up who we were to be as a people. Constitution has various levels and types of power. One is called delegated powers. Delegated powers are simply those that the Constitution gives to the federal government. Now here's the trick. If something is not a delegated power, the Constitution says that it then is given to either the states or the people. So unless the Constitution specifically states the federal government has this power, then the states or the people have that power. And the federal government cannot take it without changing the Constitution. Reserved powers are all of those powers not specifically given to the federal government and that are understood to be given to the states or powers. And so you have delegated powers. Everything that's not delegated to the federal government is reserved to the states or the people. You also have some unusual powers called concurrent powers. These are powers that are shared by both federal and state governments. Concurrent powers would be things like building roads. You have federal highways and state highways. That's a concurrent power of government. The Constitution, beyond being based on the notion of popular sovereignty, is also based on the notion of limited government. Limited government is a government that has defined restrictions on its power. The American government can simply not do whatever it wants to do. There are limits on the scope of government authority. Those limits are generally found in the Bill of Rights and the amendments to the Constitution. The limits on our government are what keep Americans free from undue governmental intervention. Question. Give me 3 examples of limited government. So in other words, what is the government not allowed to do to you? Take a moment, pause the video, and when you're ready to resume, hit play. And we're back. As I said before, the Constitution is divided into the preamble. It has 7 articles and then 27 amendments. Power is separated, as you've learned since 3rd grade. Power is divided between the states and the federal level, and power is divided between the 3 branches of government. Each branch of government can check the power of the other 2 branches in various ways that we will explore throughout the course. Question. Why did the Founding Fathers feel that power needed to be divided within the federal government? Beyond that, why did they feel that power needed to be divided between federal and state governments? Take a moment, pause the video, answer the question, and after you've done so, resume. Moving on. Here are the foundational things you have to know about the Constitution. Article 1 sets up the legislative branch, that is Congress. Article 2 tells us about the executive branch. Article 3 tells us about the judicial branch. Article 4 deals with the states. It describes the powers and limitations of the state governments, and it dictates how the states should interact with the federal government. Most importantly, it says that every state has to honor the laws of other states. That's why issues such as gay marriage become very important. If gay marriage is enacted in one state, say in Massachusetts or Delaware, where currently gay marriage is legal, then according to Article 4, other states in the Union should honor the contract, because marriage is a contract. Other states in the Union should honor the contract of those states that have allowed gay marriage. That's why an issue that might just look like it's only in one state can quickly become an issue that every state in the country cares about. Article 5 deals with the amendment process. The Constitution can be amended. It's been amended for 27 individual amendments. How it happens is Congress will propose an amendment, and then it has to have a 2/3 vote of both houses of Congress to approve the amendment. After that, 3/4 of the state legislatures have to also approve the amendment for it to take effect. This makes it very, very difficult to amend the Constitution. We generally think this is a good thing. We don't want people just amending the Constitution left and right. It should be a difficult thing to do. And in our entire history, it's only happened 27 times. Article 6 is what we call the Supremacy Clause. The Supremacy Clause basically only states that no state or local law may violate the Constitution. And if a state or local law does conflict with federal law, the federal law is supreme. So this sets up the ultimate authority of the federal level of government to have final legal say over how we conduct ourselves in the country. Article 7 was simply there to help us ratify the Constitution. We no longer use Article 7. It was only in effect for the ratification process. Question. Give me an application of the Supremacy Clause. So give me a time when you could see that the Supremacy Clause could come into play. Take a few moments, answer that question, and this will conclude our note.